welcome back to another episode of Friday Night Spotlight, brought to you by 911 Air Repair, your local air conditioning experts specializing in maintenance, repair, and new installations. Well, we are kind of nearing the end of the regular season when it comes to our smaller schools, and our game of the week is going to feature a smaller school. But before we get into that, I got to get into these AIA power rankings, which were once again released on Tuesday for this week. And you know what? I'm just going to say, can somebody make this make sense? Because it doesn't make sense to me. So I want to say it was maybe 3 weeks ago. The first power rankings for the 3A conference came out. Florence was ranked number one. Rightfully so. They were one of the undefeated teams in the conference. That week, however, unfortunately, their opponent in Brigade Catholic forfeited. So technically, Florence didn't have a game. Afterwards, those next power rankings featured Florence dropping down to number two. I guess forfeits don't really carry any weight here. So that brings us to last week. Florence had a bye. Coming into this week, looking at the power rankings, they are now number three. So hey, like I mentioned, make it make sense. You know, how is this team who really hasn't played a game, how are they just constantly dropping? Anyways, getting into our game of the week, which features Florence, they are going up against number four in Queen Creek, Benjamin Franklin. David, what are you expecting from this game?
Well, like you mentioned before, minus the power rankings itself, they haven't played in 2 weeks, and that's tough for a team. Obviously you want the bye week to kind of use it to rest up, get healthy, especially if guys may be dealing with some injuries. But when you haven't played in 2 weeks, that mojo definitely loses. Your momentum kind of you lose that momentum a little bit. So we're gonna have to see how they bounce back. And Benjamin Franklin's gonna be a tough opponent for them, especially. So I think quarterback Logan Stenson is going to be a huge game changer for them. He's a really solid passer as well as a really solid runner. This team is a very good rushing team as well, but with Logan Stenson having the ability to use his arm as well, that just only elevates his potential to make this game a very competitive one. So it's going to come down to that, plus the defense is going to have to be tough. Benjamin Franklin has a really stout offense of their own, so I expect this to kind of be a back and forth affair, but it really can come down to what defense dominates, what dominates the most and what stops the offense the most.
Like David mentioned, sometimes a little too much rest doesn't do you any good. But looking at this matchup, I don't think Florence needs any additional motivation. They've had this game circled on their calendar since last year. Last year was also a tightly contested matchup. Benjamin Franklin ended up winning the game on a last-second field goal, so that really left a sour taste in the Gophers' mouth. And they're ready. They're looking to avenge that loss. But hey, it's not going to be an easy task. Now we know Benjamin Franklin, the past couple of years have developed a really steady run game. That's no different this year, but they do have an additional wrinkle, and they have kind of developed a pretty solid passing game with a sophomore quarterback, Gavin Weiler. He has a 63% completion rate, 11 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. So I think that's going to be kind of key here for Benjamin Franklin to just continue moving the ball. But like David mentioned, Florence just has way too many weapons with Stenson, running back Malik Smith, and all just the different receiving options that Stenson does have, including his younger brother Wyatt. Overall, I think it's going to come down to the defense. Which defense can get that stop? Both of these teams like to run the ball. They like to control the clock. So in the end, I think it's going to come down like last year. Who can get that stop and make sure, hey, no game-winning field goals are taken against Florence. Moving on, we are going into our what to watch. David, what do you have your eye on?
I am talking about the Warriors of ALA Ironwood going up against the Tempe Buffaloes. Now, usually I wouldn't necessarily, care about a game with one of our teams playing Tempe, because just in previous years they have not been a solid football program. But that is completely different this year. They're 4-3 right now. They are a really solid program, and they're going to pose a threat to the Warriors, who are also coming off of a bye last week. Anytime I talk about them, I always got to talk about Aiden Williams, their star running back. He's been a solid guy for them. But I really want to talk about their quarterback, Jet Brewster, as well. Brewster has had a really solid campaign for him so far this season. They are kind of the 1-2 punch when it comes to the offensive side of the ball. Coach Lauren Dawson has, again, completely transformed this program into a team that we have to look at for a very long time, for as long as he's there. And they've proven it so far. They're currently, I believe, ranked 10th in 3A right now. They've done a solid job so far. So they're going to have to take this game seriously, because Tempe is not the same slouch they used to be in previous years. So I expect a very good game for them. I expect them to still win. But those guys that I mentioned before, they're really going to have to continue to elevate their game and lead this team forward.
All right, and my what to watch, we are jumping up to the 5A conference. I am talking Maricopa. They are at Tucson. Both of these teams carry the same record at 4-2. And last year, this was a very winnable game for Maricopa. Unfortunately, they couldn't come away with the victory. I think this year things might be a little bit more, go a little differently for them. We've talked about their offense pretty much all season long, starting with quarterback Jose Cardona Jr. So far, over 1,400 passing yards, 12 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. Azarius James has done a really solid job running the ball for the Rams. And defensively, we got to highlight this Maricopa defense. Barry Smith has 33 tackles, 12.5 of them for a loss. The team as a whole, 21.5 sacks with Russell Carrington and Clayton Neal, each of them posting 4 sacks, and the team has 12 fumble recovers. I think that's going to be the key factor here in just kind of getting into Tucson's head and disrupting that offense. Looking at Tucson, they are coming off a kind of a heartbreaking loss to Ironwood Ridge, 30-27. So I believe they're a little bit more hungry to get back in the win column. Overall, I just think Maricopa's defense is going to be the key here. They're a little bit better than Tucson, so I'm going to give Maricopa the win. And as always, here are our picks for the week. We don't have any Thursday night games this week. And as always, hey, check back with us next week to see what else we have in store.